Hello guys, welcome back to this channel. In this video, we're going to look at Git branch and what it allows us to do in our workflow. Now, in the previous video, if you would remember the first video, I spoke about branching in Git, and I made this comparison that a repository or a project is like a house, and then the branches of that project are like separate rooms in that house. And so in a house there are different rooms. Let's say you have a bedroom, you have a kitchen, you have a cellar, and all these rooms have specialized things that they do. So if you want to cook, you go to your kitchen. If you want to take a bath, you go to the bathhouse. So that is what branching in Git essentially is about. When we have a project and we want to work on a specific part of that project, we can create a branch inside of the repository to allow us to work separately on that branch. Now this is important because when we have a full running project, making changes directly to the project's source code has its disadvantages. So should something happen, even though Git has the ability to revert back to an earlier version, it does not really go to prove how good we are utilizing the features and functionality of Git, because Git has a branching system that allows us to work separately and then to finally put back that work when it has been verified. So that is what we're going to do in this video. We're going to look at how a Git branch is created. Okay, if you haven't gotten anything at all, a Git branch is like a space within your project that allows you to create your own or a new directory with its own history and workflow. Alright, let us look at how we can begin to use the Git branch command. In the previous work, we pushed something to our GitHub repository. That was in the last video. So when you open your repository or your project for the first time, if you are working with others on that project, it's always best to be updated with the work. This is because the work exists both locally and remotely. So if there are changes that have been applied whilst you are away, those changes will be in the remote, and so you would have to apply those changes to your local as well before you proceed. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a git pull. Now this git pull does two things. It fetches the changes or whatever is inside of the remote, and then it merges that changes to my local content. So when I press on enter, so over here you can see that one file has been changed. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ls my readme. I'm just going to try and take a peek at what we did. Okay, so the last time we left off at push. Okay, but this git clone was added by a different user. If you remember in the previous video, we cloned the repository with a different user and then we pushed the changes that we made. If you come over here, you can see that the last commit message came from John Doe 2013, and this was the commit message that was left. So I'm going to leave this side. The git branch command allows us to do four things. The first thing is it allows us to list all branches that are available locally and remotely. It allows us to create branches locally and remotely. It also allows us to rename branches and to delete branches locally and also remotely. Now this is important. I keep reiterating over locally and remotely because everything done on the local must reflect in the remote as well. And so the first thing we are going to look at is the listing. We can first start by checking out the number of branches we have on our local. Now you realize that over here there is already master. So if I should do git branch, and then I'm going to use the list flag this way. So once I do this, it is showing me that I have a branch called master. So it is showing that we are already in the master branch. Now what does this mean? The Git project itself initializes with a default branch, meaning that the branching is not just only a separate flow of the work, but each project itself initializes as a branch. Let me go back again to the room analogy. Inside of the room, once you've entered the room, you've actually entered a space. And so in terms of the space that we are talking about, then you have actually entered a branch of the project. So that is why you have master here, even though you have not yet created a branch. So the default already is a branch. Now there's another way to list the branches. Aside the list flag, you can just type get branch this way, and it's still going to list the branches we have. Over here you can see we still have just one branch. We can also list the branches that are on our remote, so we can do that by doing git branch, and then we'll use the -a flag. Once we do that, it shows us that there is master, and then there is also a remote origin master. Remember, we pushed to the remote origin as master in our previous video. So on the remote origin, there's still going to be a branch called master. Okay, so that's fine. Now the next thing we're going to do is how to create a branch. So how do we create a branch? To do that, we'll do git let me clear this so that we can look at it from above. So we do git branch, and then you specify the name of the branch. So let's say sketch. Okay, that is the name of the branch I want to create. Okay, so now that I've done this, I'm going to verify whether this branch has been created by using the git branch list. You can see that now we have sketch over here as well. So this is the new branch that has been created along the default master branch. We can choose to create any number of branch. Maybe you can call this branch main. I remember we had to choose between master and main. So now if I go again and I do my git branch list, I have main, master, and sketch. Now you can see that the current branch that is being worked in is the branch that has the asterisk before it, and it's also made green in here. Okay, so that is the current branch that we are working in. Even though I'm talking about git branching, there are a couple of commands that will pass through, even though that is not what we are going to tackle today. Now when we are trying to move from one branch to another branch, it is known as checking out. Now checking out has its own command, but I'm not going to go too deep into checkout. I'm just going to mention it in passing, and we're going to see how it actually works. So once I've created these extra two branches, I can check them out. You know, it's a very pretty easy word to use. Very convenient. Okay, so I can just git checkout sketch. Okay, and immediately you see that the branch name has changed from master to sketch, because right now I'm no longer in the master, but I am in sketch. I can do the same for the other git checkout main, and it's going to switch from the sketch and it's going to go to the main. So that is how you can actually move from branch to branch. Now when you create a branch this way, it creates the branch off of the current or the master branch that you had. Okay, so if I should go and do an ls into this current main, it's going to show me the readme that was initially in the master. Why is this doing that? This is because it sort of creates a branching of the master branch, and so it sort of picks a snapshot of where the master branch was and creates a branch from there. So that branch you have created, you can do a lot of work in there. For example, I am in the main branch right now. I can choose to create new features or new files. I can do touch my file. Right there I would have created a new file. Now let's do git status. Okay, now you can see that there's a file added. I'm gonna do a git add everything. Okay, and I'm gonna do a git commit, added a new empty file. Okay, so now when I go to my ls, I can see that I have my readme.md and I have my file.txt. Now I'm going to check out and go to my master, and I'm going to show you the difference that has happened. Okay, I'm going to do a git checkout. I'm going to go back to the master. Okay, now when I go back to master and I hit the ls, now inside of this place you can see that there is only readme.md. there is no my file.txt. That is because the work that I did in main or in the main branch remains in the main branch until it is merged back together. If it has not been merged, it will not show up in my master. Okay, so that is the power of branching. You can branch off and you can do a whole project on the side, and then when you're done you can just bring it back and merge it to the original project, and then you are moving on. Now this is so important because you can be working from any part of the world and your work can still be sent over. It can be checked. If everything is right, it can be added to the main project. So that is the idea behind the Git branch. Okay, now the next thing we are going to do is how to rename branches. If you remember, when we were creating our GitHub repository, we had a certain command that we could use to rename our branches to main, but we chose to maintain master. Now we can do the same here. Imagine we wanted to change, we made a mistake, we said, okay, I don't want the main any longer, I want to change it from main to trunk. I can do that by using the git, I've forgotten my branch names. Okay, so let's say git branch -m sketch. So you see branch named sketch already exists, so I can change it to something else. So trunk. Okay, so this changes the branch name from main to trunk. So if I go back and I do my git branch list, you see that instead of main it's now trunk, and the asterisk is on trunk because I am actually in trunk. So that's how it works. Okay, that's how it works. So the next thing we're going to do is how to delete a branch. So we've created a branch, we've added some files in there. So how do we delete a branch? Okay, the first thing we can do is git branch, and then we use this flag called -d. Okay, in case you cannot see it, we're gonna use -d and then the name of the branch. I'm gonna first delete sketch. So you see it says deleted the branch called sketch. So when I go back to do git branch, it shows me only master and trunk. Okay, all right, so that's one way to delete a local branch on a repository. Okay, by using the git branch -d and then the name of the branch you want to delete. Now there's another way to do that. This small d, which is the, let me illustrate it, this small d, okay, is used as a save delete. This is used when you don't have any changes or you've not made any changes inside of the branch you're trying to delete. If you have a change or you have introduced something new into that repository, it will not be able to delete it. It would give you a warning. Okay, so let's try it and see. Now that I've actually created a file called my text and I've saved it and committed it in trunk, let me try and delete it. And it's going to say cannot delete branch trunk. Check out at this. Now this is happening because trunk is not an empty branch, or rather it has unmerged files in there. Let me go out and let me just check out again. Just check out to master. Okay, and then attempt to delete trunk again. See, it says the branch trunk is not fully merged. Okay, so because it has unmerged files in there, it is not going to delete it. There is another way if you want to delete it. It said if you are sure you want to delete it, then you can run git branch and then capital D trunk. So if we wanted to really delete trunk and everything that we've done in it, we can just use git branch and then capital D, and then that will just remove everything that we've done in branch, that is including the file I just created and every change that I made over there. Okay, so that is not what I want to do now. Okay, but even if I wanted, I could just do that. Let me just do that so that you can have a look at it. So you see that it finally deleted trunk. If I do git branch, all the branches I created are gone. All right, all the branches I created are gone. Now we can do the same for our remote as well. How do we do that? We use git push, and then you specify the name of your remote, and then you do delete, and then you mention the name of the branch. If it is trunk, then you do that. This would remove the name or that branch from the origin or the remote that you have pushed to. Now I've said a lot of things and we've done all these things. We've gone through the listing, the creating, the renaming, and then the deletion. Okay, now here's what I'm going to do. I had a problem with my last file that I sent. If you're following, I remember that I said that this was supposed to be in italics, but somehow it was not made to be in italics. This one is supposed to be italics. Okay, when I was typing out the markdown, I made a mistake. So I'm going to create a branch. I'm going to make changes to this, and then we're going to merge it, and then we're going to push back to the remote. I'm going to show you how that flow works. So let's begin right now and deal with this issue. First, I'm going to do my git pull again. Sorry. First, I'm going to do my looks like I went to click on something else. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a git pull. Everything's already up to date, but I just want to do it because it's good practice to constantly git pull. So it's saying already up to date, so I can proceed. I'm going to do a git branch, and I'm going to call it corrections. Okay, or corrections. Okay, alright, so I'm going to do a git branch. Okay, so I have master and corrections. I'm gonna git checkout corrections. So I'm now in corrections, so you know, right here I'm in corrections. I am inside of corrections right here. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to ls. Like I said, git creates that branch off of the current branch that you have, so you can see that I still have my readme. I'm going to go into that readme. If you were watching the previous video, you understand what I just did. Alright, now over here I'm going to press my insert to make changes. So the mistake I did was I left a space between the two stars, so I'm going to put the space back. I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to move this from here. Okay, and then maybe I should add something new so that we can see the changes that we have made. And I'm going to say this text came from corrections branch. I'm still going to use a markdown for it, so I'm going to make it the markdown for bold. Sorry, this way, but it should bolden the text when it gets to GitHub. Okay, so I'm done with my changes. I'm gonna just close this off. Okay, and then I'm gonna go to Git status. Over here, the README has been modified, so I'm gonna do a git add. I'm gonna do a git commit. I'm gonna say corrected my markdown errors. Hopefully, if I don't run into another error, I'm gonna commit. Okay, so now I have a commit. I'm gonna do a git status again. It says everything on branch corrections is clean, there's nothing to commit. I'm gonna do a git checkout of my corrections to my master. Okay, now when I do a git status, it says everything is up to date. Okay, but the truth of the matter is that there is work that I have done inside of the other branch that has not been done here. Let me prove it to you by doing a vi and then a readme. Okay, when I open the readme here, you see that this readme has not had any changes made to it. It's still having the double star and the mistake that I did the first, and it also does not have the last statement that I did. Okay, so this particular readme is from an older version or from the actual default branch or the master branch, but inside of my corrections branch I have made corrections to this readme. So what do? I bring it back together so that we have one work. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave here and I'm gonna do a git merge. That is how simple it is to merge. You just do git merge and then I mention the name of the branch I am merging. Okay, so I'm gonna git merge corrections. Okay, so it says that there are 3 changes that were made to it. So 1 file change, 2 insertions and 1 deletions. So something was removed and 2 things were added. So now let me go back and look at my vi again. Sorry, ls. And I'm gonna do a git status. Says your branch is ahead of the origin by 1, which means that I've now made new changes to my local repository, but those changes have not been reflected in my remote repository. So maybe I should push them to the remote repository as well. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm first of all going to do vi readme to confirm whether the merge worked. Okay. Alright, so inside you can see that this is now showing the changes I made inside of corrections, and yet we are in master. Okay, so that's how the git branch works. Okay, so from here I can just git push, and this should push everything, okay, to the remote. Now I'm going to verify that by just refreshing my GitHub. We'll see whether these changes have been made. So immediately you can see clearly from here that the italics is working just as I expected, and then there is this text came from corrections branch. Nice. So that's it. This is the gist of Git branch. Now I just want to check one last thing before I close. Okay, now when I go back to my checkout, okay, let me check out my corrections again. There is a way to actually push this branch as well, because you can have multiple branch on your GitHub project. I'm going to show you how you can do that. So let's say we wanted to push this particular branch to GitHub. We can do git push Okay, gonna do a git push origin and then corrections. Create a pull request for corrections on GitHub by visiting. Alright, okay, let's see. Here inside of this, and then if we go to the branches, you see that now I have 2 branches. Okay, let me show you. There is the branch which is master. If I drop down here, you should see now there are corrections as well. Okay, so now I have 2 branches that have been pushed to the same remote repository. Okay, so that's how it works. You can have multiple branches on the same file, on the same project, and we can have different things inside of that project. Now this is what usually happens. Someone creates a project, you create a copy or you fork that project to your local, and then you work on it, and then you push that branch and ask for you make a pull request so that the creators of the repository or the project can take a look at what you did in your branch. If it is acceptable to them, they just put it back together and they merge it to their code base, and then your work is accepted and it's added. Okay, if I wanted to remove this particular corrections that I've just pushed to my remote, what I can do is I can use the git, I think I spelled it out the last time, git branch. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna use the git push and then origin, and I'm gonna use the -- delete flag, and I'm gonna mention or type the name of the branch I'm trying to remove. In this case it is corrections, so I'm gonna just do this. So if everything goes well, this particular syntax should remove the corrections that was added. Over here you can see that corrections is still here. If I click on it, it will actually check out the corrections branch, but because everything in there is the same as what is inside of our master, it's not something that we are going to see so much of a difference. Okay, so it is already done. So let me refresh my GitHub page and see whether I'll still see my corrections. So if you watch carefully, you should be able to already see that it's no longer having multiple branches, it's just having one branch. So this is trying to load all the branches, but at the end of the day, one branch has been deleted, so it's just left with one branch. Okay, so I can also come here and then I'm going to check out master. Okay, then I can delete this branch. Since I've already finished this work, I've merged it to the main to the master, so I no longer need the correction, so I'm going to delete it. So I'm going to do git branch, but because it already has work that has been committed, okay, I'm going to use the capital D flag, and I'm going to call the name, and then that should remove it. Now over here we can come back and check our number of branches, and you can see that it's only left with master. Initially there was corrections, but now it's left with master. That should tell you that the corrections branch that was on the remote was also deleted. So I'm going to end right here. I intended to make it short, but I believe that you have learned something. I just want you to really understand what I am talking about and the power of Git. So I hope to see you in the next video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like this video. I really want to see that you are learning something from this channel. It's free, just learn something, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.